My name is Megan Johnson, and I'm a part of Team 9, and our country was Australia, and our company was Netflix. So this presentation will take an in-depth look in the company of Netflix and their journey in order to bring their product to the Australian market. So on this slide is our opportunity, and so the company of Netflix wanted to expand their services outside of the United States into the Australian and New Zealand market. So pictured on this slide is one of their Netflix original series shows called Stranger Things, and this was a part of one of their promotional efforts in order to entice the people of Australia in order to buy the product and to subscribe. And so also in here you'll see the other popular shows that are on Netflix and the other ones that were brought to the people of Australia in order for them to want to subscribe and buy and actually want to be a part of the product that Netflix was trying to offer. A little bit about the organization. Netflix is an internet entertainment service provider that features numerous TV shows, films, and other works that are available to customers instantly and across different electronic devices. So which means you can watch it on your phone, on your computer, on your laptop, over any smart device. So it's available anywhere to you instantly. And what's different about Netflix is that you're watching without any limits and without commercials. So that's one of the biggest benefits from the different cable and other different internet and television providers. And according to the website, it provides service to 125 million memberships in over 190 countries. And the home country for Netflix is in Los Gatos, California. And again, the company is operating in Australia and New Zealand. And the company was started in 1997, so this is a relatively newer company compared to other ones that have been existed, especially for their different span and the number of subscribers that they have. It doesn't have an official mission statement that governs their company. However, they do have a core strategy that they use, and this is a quote from their website talking about this specific thing. So in quote, I'm going to read it. It says, "Our core strategy is to grow our streaming subscription business domestically and globally. We are continuously improving the customer experience with a focus on expanding our streaming content, enhancing our user interface, and extending our streaming service to even more internet-connected devices, while staying within the parameters of our consolidated net income and operating segment contribution profit targets." So I thought this was very interesting to include because it basically sums up the purpose of their organization and their goals and objectives that for a person that's completing their campaign would look to in order to make sure that they're giving everything in their brand when they're putting out different materials and making sure that everything they're doing is a part of their brand and a part of what Netflix stands for. Netflix does have a cultural environment that they build their organization about. So when looking on their website, and this was actually under their jobs component because they want their people to actually be good ambassadors for the company, they have different words that stood out that are on the slide are like impact, judgment, selflessness, passion, communication, integrity, curiosity, innovation. They one of the quotes was people over process and dream team. And they also have on their website they said that they engage in unusual behavior, and I thought that was very interesting to point out because they are being very innovative through bringing television movies through electronic devices compared to watching it just on your TV. So they really attach to that unusual behavior in order to make them more innovative. And so they have 5 different things that basically build who they are. And so the first thing was they encourage independent decision making by employees. Number 2 is that they share information openly, broadly, and deliberately. Number 3, they are extraordinary, candid about each other. Number 4, keep only our highly effective people. And number 5 was they avoid rules. So all of these things basically embody their organization, embody what makes Netflix special, and embodies why their cultural environment is so strong and their organization brand is strong as well. This slide goes over the political and economic influence because Netflix, as an organization carrying out business in a company, they need to make sure that they're abiding by the laws and the regulations of that specific country. So Australia, they're governed by their constitution, which is just like the United States. We have the United States Constitution here. And they also have 3 different branches. So their first is the ministry, the second is the prime minister, and the third is the high court. And under the ministry, which is like their legislative branch, is the House of Representatives and the Senate. And under their prime minister's executive branch would be like our president here. And then the third one is the High Court, which is similar to the Supreme Court, what we have, and that carries out the laws, and they also have the federal court under there. And so Australia, since they have a very similar organization of their political influence as the United States, it should be pretty similar for them, for Netflix to carry out business, but they should just double check to make sure that they're doing everything that's aligning with what is legally correct and making sure that their company is abiding by those laws. Well, this part of our presentation is going to cover the Hofstede cultural dimension, and the first section is the power distance. And the power distance is defined as the extent to which the less powerful members of institutions and organizations within a country expect and accept the power. That power is distributed unequally. So this has to do with the society's inequalities that are endorsed by the followers as much as the leaders. So for the score that Australia scored was a 36, which is low on the power distance, so that's very important to note. And organizations are structured in a way to establish convenience. However, managers value their employees' expertise. And that was very important because when we went over the culture for Netflix, they really value their employees. So that means that this overlaps with what Australia, their types of people that are there, and of course the company of Netflix. And they also have an open door policy, and open door is informal and direct, and they want their participation from their different employees and of course the leaders within the organization. The Hofstede cultural dimension, this one goes over whether the country identifies with I or we. So this can be defined as the degree of interdependence a society maintains among its members. So Australia's score is a 90, which is very high, and they have a highly individualistic society, coming in, of course, with the score of 90. So the Australian society is considered loosely knit, and each individual looks after themselves and their immediate families. So they're more of an I person compared to we. And so employees are self-reliant and they take initiative on their own, which is also great because that's what Netflix had a part of their culture, with saying that they wanted people that could think independently and they wanted people that could take initiative and be curious, and those are all parts of thinking of an I society compared to we. Cultural dimension of masculinity, Australia, they score a 61, which makes them a masculine society. Which means that they are built on the belief that each individual should achieve a high level in every aspect of their lives, from education to their careers. So they definitely are determined to win. So, and going over the general aspect, the general term of masculinity, it's determined by a high score, which that means that they're driven by competition, achievement, and success. In contrast, a feminine society is one where the quality of life is the sign of success, and standing out from the crowd is not admirable. So this kind of ties in back to the I and we part that we just talked about earlier, and that they're an individualistic society, so they're all about themselves and how to better themselves. So that kind of goes into the idea that they want to win and better themselves and put the best foot forward.
Hofstede refers to uncertainty avoidance as how threatened members of a country feel about unknown situations. These citizens come up with their own beliefs and organizations to combat their fears of the unknown. While some countries score high and others score low, Australia falls in the middle, scoring a 51. This means that different cultures within the country handle these types of situations with anxiety and repression, while others are not concerned with them and will accept things as they come and respond how they feel appropriate. On the Corruption Perceptions Index on transparency.org, Australia ranks 13th out of 180 countries and scores a 77 out of 100. These scores indicate that Australia has relatively low corruption. The higher the score, the lower the corruption rates. This compares favorably to the United States with a ranking of 16 and a score of 75, and with Russia, who ranks 135th and has a score of 29. During the time of the campaign, there were two broadcasting stations that merged into one. Nine Entertainment and Fairfax Media announced their $4 billion company merge. The merge is said to create a more integrated media via TV, online streaming, digital, and print mediums. Nine will have 51.1% of the shares of the company, so their name remains Nine Entertainment, eliminating Fairfax altogether. This merger is expected to save at least $50 million over the next few years. New Zealand's acting Prime Minister Winston Peters puts Australia on the spot when he said that they should change their flag because it copies the Kiwi flag. Even though New Zealand adopted their flag in 1902 and Australia in 1954, Australia won a banner competition in 1901 with a similar design that was flown during the first Flag Day. Australia's annual inflation rate increased from 1.9% to 2.1% over the year due to increasing oil prices and healthcare costs. An Australian food market, Dick Smith Foods, was recently put out of business by another grocery store, Aldi. Dick Smith Foods donates a portion of their profits to charity. Due to their closing, those charities will not receive the benefits from the store again and will put thousands of employees out of work. This campaign targeted citizens in Australia and New Zealand who use online streaming devices. This audience will be introduced to Netflix as another streaming service, with Stan and Foxtel being top competitors. Users will have to choose which service they will use based on what is offered through each. With Netflix being the newbie, they do not have as much media rights as the other streaming services around. More popular shows are not available to be viewed on Netflix yet because they do not have those rights. In addition to reaching online streaming users in the area, Netflix also targeted the younger audience. Millennials are connected through their phones almost every minute of the day and are living their lives through social media. With 4 social media accounts, Netflix is able to reach a wider audience through those various mediums to spread their message. This younger, media-driven audience were reached due to Netflix's social and modern commentary. Netflix created interactive social media content to engage viewers. For example, the use of the upside-down text to personify the Australian slogan of being down under in a tweet launched the campaign. The tweet also was the first inclusion of the hashtag #NetflixDownUnder. These social media accounts post numerous times a day, consisting of humorous memes and goofy pictures that reach their audience and that will be able to connect with their audience. An event was planned for journalists, bloggers, and other media professionals to come to the Netflix headquarters in Los Gatos, California. This event hoped to educate these people on the benefits of Netflix. By exposing these key influencers to the company firsthand, Netflix could control the message they received in a fun and exclusive environment. Another innovative marketing technique used to reach the desired audience was a partnership with Netflix and the infamous Sydney Opera House to stream the Netflix original series Stranger Things for free. This increases Netflix's popularity within Australia and gets viewers to continue with Netflix as their primary streaming service because they are offering the viewing of a show that they like and are interested in. Netflix's campaign theme is one of admiration and uniqueness. Netflix focused on reaching its audience personally through digital devices and modern humor. The company's use of social media shows how Netflix is connecting with their audience through their everyday uses. Netflix's Instagram bio reads, "Like normal Netflix, but way more comfortable swearing." It's this type of commentary that is seen throughout their Instagram and Twitter that captures their audience and encourages them to stay around. In an attempt to modernize Australia and New Zealand's TV and movie watching experience, Netflix introduced themselves to the market first and localizing themselves to the quirks of Australia and New Zealand's culture.
So the theme of this campaign was to be modern, funny, and relevant. Netflix was the first of this kind of internet content provider in these countries, so they wanted to come across as very sleek and modern and really cater to that younger generation that would be utilizing this service the most. The company's use of social media really exemplified this theme because this same younger population is on social media a lot, so they utilized it to kind of attract them. A great example of this is the Instagram bio of Netflix Australia and New Zealand, which says, "Like normal Netflix, but way more comfortable swearing." So the jokes like this would really appeal to the culture and the mindsets of these younger people in these countries. The key message of this campaign was to first and foremost educate the Australian and New Zealand publics on what Netflix and other services like it were. So there's no prior service that provided something that was like Netflix with instantaneous content available online, so they really wanted to showcase what that was and why it was more efficient than television or movies in a traditional sense.
In doing so, however, Netflix was able to support their own goal of pushing their service in these countries and becoming Australia's first and inaugural online content provider. So, by pushing this educational factor, they were able to say, this online service is really great and ours is the best. So another supporting message was that they wanted their own original content to be seen as something very new and could be found nowhere else. So this exclusivity also drew people in to try and want to get Netflix before others so that they could watch these shows that were only available on Netflix, such as Stranger Things. And that, coupled with the showing at the Sydney Opera House, really pushed this agenda. So moving on, the overall goal of this campaign was to educate the public on internet entertainment and introduce Netflix to this market. The objectives of the campaign was to expand this multinational corporation's reach into a new corner of the globe, which is Australia and New Zealand. Then they would want to be the first online video streaming service in these two countries and control the perception of such services. So since they were first, they're able to get across the message that online streaming is way more efficient, way more versatile, and by being the ones controlling that message, it seems a lot more reliable and authentic. Next, they wanted to establish a relationship between the publics in Australia and New Zealand by tailoring marketing and content to their local markets. So by working with local content creators and putting in shows and documentaries on Netflix that were by Australian and New Zealand creators, they were able to create a relationship that seemed very genuine. And then additionally, all the marketing was very geared towards these citizens because they had partnerships with Sydney Opera House and jokes and content that they knew the culture would like. Lastly, they wanted to create more demand for original shows in this region and thereby diversifying Netflix's portfolio and diversifying their subscribers. So this means that by expanding to a new culture in a new region, they're able to create different types of content that only this region would be able to find and appreciate in this way. So next, the strategies of the campaign were pretty similar to that of Germany, Australia, and Switzerland when Netflix rolled out in those countries as well. And then the biggest theme, the biggest idea here is to target these specific countries one at a time and create a whole separate, almost like a whole separate company or identity just for these countries, so that it seemed a little bit more personal. It seemed like they were creating a relationship with Netflix in this country specifically, and it wasn't this general, broad Netflix that anyone could access that didn't have specialized content. So by doing this, Netflix is able to acknowledge the differences in these types of cultures and craft content that fits the needs of that specific market. Like we said before, this strategy diversifies Netflix's own content as well as make these publics feel listened to and special in their video streaming. Tactics of the campaign were mostly creative marketing and creative images to play to this Netflix Down Under theme that they were going for. An example of one of these images is shown on the slide, a new way of viewing Down Under. So Netflix, as an internet-based service, uses these types of graphics and social media effectively to gain the attraction from their audiences on the medium they were already going to be using. So kind of meeting on the same playing field really helped Netflix, because people would go online and see all their advertising and then just click open a new tab, literally and figuratively, to go onto Netflix. So it's all on the same medium, the same thing. And then additionally, partnering with local Australian companies and landmarks established their credibility within the region, within the population. The timeline of Netflix expanding into Australia started probably before 2014, but documented started in 2014 when Netflix released that they were interested in expanding to Australia, and towards the end of 2014 filed a copyright for the name Netflix Australia. Moving to 2015, Netflix finalized all their research on Australian households and launched on March 24th of this year with kind of a limited content access, so just very basic content with basic prices, and it was kind of like a softer launch. So they launched, but they weren't fully extending into what we know as Netflix. In 2016, this is when they did expand. Full content is released, and Netflix raises its subscription prices, which means that they have 3 different tiers of subscription. You have the first basic tier, which you can just get for $8.99 a month, and it just gives you one computer, one device access to the content. And then the next tier would be HD content and 2 devices. And the third tier is 4 devices with Ultra HD content viewing. In 2016, Netflix also spent time reviewing and evaluating their own campaign efforts so that they can adjust what they need to when moving forward into other countries. In 2017, there was a rise in Amazon Prime's viewership, which became known as a competing service in the region, and Netflix acknowledged this, but it never gained too much traction. In response kind of to this, Netflix raised its premium and ultra package prices to give it more of like an exclusivity and adding more devices. Then now in 2018, although it was successful in itself, Netflix was, it is faced with a new challenge as the Australian government is looking to pass content quotas on the streaming service. So it's a current debate right now within the Australian government to limit the amount of content a viewer can watch on Netflix. And other countries have considered doing this and has become a debate, but ultimately it has never come to pass. But that is a current debate happening right now over Netflix. And finally, the budget for this campaign. It was never officially released, as Netflix takes on many new initiatives every year. However, it was revealed that this year, Netflix raised its budget from its initial $1.3 billion in 2017 to $2 billion in 2018. So that can give you some idea of their increase in market value globally. Thank you.
Netflix distributed a press release on March 23, 2015, which announced the streaming service would launch in Australia and New Zealand the following day. Some of the points that were included on the press release also included different plans and pricing. They would be offering a first month free for all new members, the different programming that would be available on the service, how the service can be accessed, where they can purchase gift cards, and also where consumers can find updates about new content. The company can be found on social media and social activities. Netflix and their public relations agency, OPR, created a strategy that relied heavily on a digital element, of which a large component included social media. Netflix created @Netflix ANZ as the official Twitter account to be used specifically for the region. Some of the components of their Twitter account are they have nearly 72,000 user followers and over 5,200 tweets. The account's bio is kind of humorous. It actually says, unofficial Shrek 2 fan page, customer service @Netflix helps. Posting on Twitter does help Netflix engage their followers and provide updates of new content and other matters. both the U.S. Netflix account and the Australian Netflix account. First post was on March 2nd, 2015, with the date that Netflix would be launched, and the tweet was posted, "Please stand by Netflix Down Under," and they actually had another, as you saw on another slide, they had another post where they would be launching into Australia, where they actually had the text upside down as well too. Netflix also has a presence on other social media platforms specific to that region, including an account with Instagram and Tumblr. For Instagram, they have almost 600 posts and over 80,000 followers, and the posts are similar to what you would see on Netflix, with a bit of humor and comical commentary as well too. And their bio there reads, "Like normal Netflix, but way more comfortable swearing." So that appeals to their audience there as well too. The Tumblr account is not as active. From what we could tell from our research, it only had 2 posts. So it don't have a huge presence there, but they do have a presence on Tumblr as well too. Netflix and their public relations agency, OPR, formerly Ogilvy, created some unique events to inform the publics down under about their service and the content they provide. Some of the events that they did is they used the famous Sydney Opera House. Everybody has probably seen pictures of it. There's certainly several pictures in this presentation, where they streamed the Netflix original series, which I'm sure most, if not all of you, have heard of Stranger Things, and they got to see that event for free. And they also, another promotion that they did is Netflix also partnered with Optus, who is one of the telecommunications provider in Australia. And Optus offered 6 months free of Netflix as a customer loyalty program. Now we're getting into the circuit of culture a little bit, and for regulation, that term refers to when formal and legal controls have an impact on the cultural activity. In this campaign, Netflix had to adapt their policy changes that kind of differ from their home country. Netflix has more ownership over their content, allowing them to be more expressive and free with it because they do not have the same regulatory restrictions as their Australian competitors, including Presto TV, Stan, QuitFlix, and Dindy Direct. Another component of circuit of culture includes production, and that term refers to the process of when creators give their product meaning. And of course, for Netflix, the objective was to prove the product's relevance to Australia, and they did, as we covered in a previous slide, they use their social media presence to kind of resonate with that target audience at a cost-effective price. The circuit culture also includes consumption, and Optus released a YouTube video featuring comedian Ricky Gervais each week for 5 weeks, and announced they would be offering the 6 months free of Netflix as the service launched down under. The target audience was able to share their opinions at every stage directly on the YouTube site. And this video that you're about to see next was the first of the 5 videos produced for the promotion.
Optus approached me and asked me to do an advert telling Australia that they're getting Netflix. I said I'd need like a shed load of cash, like seriously mental money. They went, okay. I said, I don't want to put any effort into it. I want to do it sitting down. They went, okay, can you at least, big up the product a bit? I went, not really. No, I don't know about it. I've never heard of Optus. They said, we're not happy with this as an advert. I went, it's too late. You've paid me, I've spent it. Use this if you want. They use it. They use it.
Okay, back to going through the circuit culture. Next step is representation, which refers to included meaning, place, and product. For Netflix in 2017, they announced an original series, an Australian original series that was meant to help build that connection between the product and the people, something local to them, and that was produced in 2017. The next item is going to be identity, which refers to maintaining an organizational identity. And when creating Netflix, ANZ, the Netflix just extended their brand to another area, so they just kind of carried over, but they related the content in a way by producing original content specific for that region. On their website, they offered the logo for free to download and specific colors and an outline on how their name can be represented. So they have a whole branding site that explains to people as far as their identity is concerned. This is how you use it. This is the correct colors. This is the correct logo, and this is how it should best be presented. So as you can probably imagine, for a company like Netflix, the way to best analyze the results is, well, how many subscribers did they actually get, and the campaign obviously was going to be a big part of that. In the first month alone, they had they had launched it in March, and in the first month they had 286,000 subscriptions, and that was they had reached 748,000 people total. Well, by the time you get to September, they had September of that year, they had 968,000, so they had almost 1 million subscribers, but they had reached 2,200,000 homes by that point. And then from October that year and through the rest of the year through December, they had reached actually had over 1 million subscribers, and they had increased by another 100,000 people that they had reached. So that was some good results, I would say. I'm sure they're probably happy with that. I'm sure they want to continue to grow. That shows that just the campaign, the way that they handled the campaign, obviously, they reached a lot of people, more importantly, but they also got a good number of people to actually subscribe. So again, some reactions to the campaign. Obviously, as we mentioned, based on the number of subscribers in the first 6 months, the evaluation of the campaign can be determined to be a success. I think we saw that the Australians were taking to the service and enjoying the content. I mean, they did reach 10% of the population, so that's a good number, at least for a start. And however, there was a unique challenge within the country because of the relying on the local curators and and creators for feedback and work. And of course, Netflix is continuing to work on developing original content specific to that region to further build that relationship between the service and that public. All right, so wrapping up, Netflix digital-only strategy led to an initial subscriber base of more than 10%, as I had previously mentioned, of all homes in Australia in just the first 6 months of the launch. Roy Morgan Research found that the video streaming service added another 113,000 to its subscribers to its base the following September. As we also pointed out, the campaign identified its target audience and found unique ways to attract their attention and successfully call them to action. The success of their digital-only strategy proves they understood who their target audience was, what they wanted, and more importantly, how to reach them.